There's an interesting one, boys. We had a bit of a chat in the green room about the edges of the Maroons and how Tom Dearden might shake this up. But we saw last year that Val Holmes and Xavier Coates were on the right edge with Cherry Everton and I. We suspect that's probably how it lines up. And then Murray, Tabuai-fidow and Hammer, they're on the left with Tommy Dearden and Jaden Sewer. The good thing about this from a Blues perspective is, of the centres and wingers, Murray Tabuai-fidow is the only one playing him in his club position. And don't get me wrong, I know it was the same last year and it was effective, but nonetheless, they're still playing in different positions to what they do at clubs. So that excites me. And what we had to chat about is with Dearden coming in on the left edge, geez, there must be temptation to hold that left edge, particularly defensively, of Dearden, Val and Tabuai-fidow. So could there be a change-up?
Well, you go back a year before, as we were speaking about, Dearden came on and Holmes was on that left edge. Now, I'm not sure if Tabuai-fidow was outside him. Could you... Oh, it'd be hard to check. I definitely know that Dearden and Holmes were on that left edge because Dearden threw that great cutout ball. Holmes hit that almost... It's like a face ball to a short line inside the centre, I think. I'd like to think. Anyway, and he's obviously scored that try. I do think there is a chance that they swap. I do think there's a chance that Billy looks at that and goes, geez, a whole Cowboys left edge working together in tandem, like it's almost like a cheat code. Like you look at New South Wales putting Penrith on the left side.
It makes sense to me that you would. And the only reason they wouldn't, and what it'll come down to is, all right, how much does Hammer need to be on the left? Like how much does left suit his game that they'd risk breaking up what is the whole defensive edge of the Cowboys, except for their left edge back rower, to do it?
Yeah.
If I was Billy Slater, though, like, Christ, it would be tempting. So, like, you talk about guys playing out of position. Like, Suoli, has he even played right centre before? He's played right wing. He's played left centre. Huge test. I'd be very tempted just to put him up against Hammer.
Just say, do your best.
Do your fucking best.
The one thing that I do like about how if it shapes up as it did last year with Hammer at left centre and Nanai and Val at that right edge, I think, don't get me wrong, there's some lethal players in Dearden, Sewer, Hammer, Tabuai-fidow, but I think the better attacking edge for the Maroons is the right, which is Cherry Evans, Nanai, Val Holmes, Xavier Coates, and I feel that Reece Walsh does his best work on that right edge as well.
Yep.
That's going up against our left edge of basically Penrith. Luai, Angus Crichton, Stephen Crichton, Brian Toto. You could argue close to the four best defensive players individually in their positions. So your best attacking edge is coming up against... I don't want this to be famous last words, but a near bulletproof defensive edge. That fills me with confidence.
Yeah. And I agree with you that right edge for Queensland is probably the better attacking side. But if Hammer's having one, the left edge is automatically the better attacking side.
I will say, I do feel like it's not getting talked about. And look, I'm guilty of it too, and I believe it. Like we're talking about the X factor of Queensland outside backs. Like Suoli'i and Lomax have X factor. They're not just meter eaters. Like Suoli'i and Lomax, they got flick passes, they've got great footwork, so we could get out of game one and said, well, it was actually Suoli'i and Lomax that had the big moments, and Reece Walsh had 3 errors or whatever happened like that. I do think that, and as I said, I'm guilty of it, but we're leaning a lot into look at New South Wales, they're just meter eaters on the on the edge, but Critter has won countless games for his team. Suoli'i, although I don't like him at centre, still has the ability to be a game breaker, and so does Lomax. So I do think that has been a bit lost in the noise, and that's partly my fault and our fault, just talking about the meter eater side of it, but they got X factor as well.
I just think if I'm Queensland, as Tim just pointed out, that right edge is electric, but I sort of think this game gets decided on the left edge for Queensland.
Absolutely, because my next point is...
Well, just before. So Murray Tabuai-fidow actually didn't play that game. So he played the game before. So Corey Oates came in. So Val was on the left, Dearden left as well.
Bring him in. Bring the big fella in. Now, first try scorer. Can you get me the first try scorer odds for Sewer?
Yep.
Because Hines' shoulders, he better pack his shoulder pads.
Yeah. And this is...
Because they're coming all day and a lot at him.
Without jumping in over the top of you, can be like, you have a look at that right edge New South Wales, Hines, who, to be fair, he's defended heaps better this year than previously, but Queensland's going to send everything they fucking can at him.
Yep.
You got Liam Martin, who hasn't been in the greatest form and has been under an injury cloud the last few weeks. You got Suoli playing right centre for the first time and playing Origin for the first time. And, you look at Hines, his experience, but, he's only played one Origin. Come off the bench for 5-10 minutes. You've essentially got an entire edge of Hines, Suoli, Lomax almost making their Origin debut out there with a Liam Martin that's
essentially you got a debut edge.
you got a debut edge.
You got a
This
debut
is-
edge. That
this is-
also isn't known for their defence.
This is why I would love to see a Stephen Crichton out there, just in defence. I know it's great to have the greatest defensive left edge of all time potentially, but mate, I'd be having Critter out there, and I'd be letting Suaalii at least in his Origin debut play left centre where he usually plays.
Because my concern is that they may, for the first 20, they may hold up to the scrutiny. But the pressure of Origin, and they just keep coming back. You got Dearden with his incredible running game, and Sua has been put on that edge to just go directly for Nicho Hines' ribs.
Yep.
You know he got selected for that. Like we all, like people forget, Sua is a hitman. Like he jams blokes. Like he almost ruined a whole season because he was too busy trying to shot blokes and had to bring it back in a little bit. He's always also been quoted as like he's been told to kind of play that game. And I just wonder, with that pressure just coming in at Nicho, you know, will they start making, like, for example, let's say Nicho misses a tackle here, does Suaalii start jamming in and then Lomax is disconnected? I wonder.
And that's where as well, like, depending on how this game plays out, if they do shift Liam Martin or give him a spell, like Olakuatu goes out there, all of a sudden you've got 4 debutants on that edge.
I like to play Guru of just like, yeah, you split up what is a wonderful defensive edge, but if they put Suaalii onto the left and Crichton on the right, it's still an awesome defensive edge. And like Suaalii's played right for the Roosters. I think he's probably played centre on the right at some point. He played right wing outside of Joey Manu early on, but this year he's been a left centre, and that's where he got picked for the Blues. So I think to shore up that right edge with big question marks with probably the best defensive centre in the game, I like it.
Well, we talked about that in the team selections, didn't we? We were like, there's no way we're sending out pretty much a debutant edge. Like we would be bringing Critter over or whoever over to shore it up.
And I get it. Like you have that Penrith left edge, and that's going to be sensational. But if I'm Queensland, I'm going, okay, you've just written my game plan. I know what I'm doing here. Like it's also like they're going to be marking Hamiso.
And people will argue, well, hang on a sec, weren't you saying you would consider putting the Cowboys edge together? But the difference is we're not having a whole debutant edge.
Yes.
Like it's a lot. There's not a fair bit of experience, but the backs for Queensland are relatively experienced.
And combinations, make such a big difference. It's just on Stephen Crichton, but like I'd been critical of him in past Origin series, a bit better last year, obviously, but prior to that, about his defensive lapses, and we spoke about it quite frequently, going for intercepts when he shouldn't be, a few to 4 poor defensive reads. In contact, always tremendous, but there were some areas of his defence that the Maroons and even at club level got exploited a fair bit. They're like all gone from his game.
So good
the
now.
last 12, 18 months, he's just like rounded out those rough edges, and now it's like probably the best defensive centre in the game.
And this is where as well, like the other reason why I would play Critter at right centre, like what's our biggest fear with Zach Lomax in this game?
Where do we do you want to start?
Goes a little bit rogue.
Offloads,
That's where I want someone like Critter inside him.
And he's a captain at club.
He's a
so
leader,
like,
Critter. He is a out and out leader. Whereas now you've got Suaalii and Lomax, 2 young guys coming into it with Hines on that edge. It's a huge concern for me.
What's Sua's first try scorer?
First try, $26.
26. There you go.
Not to be sneezed at, any time $5.60 as well.
That's
So-
juicy.
Okay. That's juicy. I just think that whether it's Walsh, I just think that right edge for New South Wales is getting peppered.
I think it ties in similar to what the game plans will be and where they attack on the field. And I mentioned before with the Blues going to their left to Crichton for the kick back on 5th to the Leapers, Queensland will do the same. They'll go at their left and getting Sua at Nicho Hines and those different combinations, kicking straight back to Val Holmes, Xavier Coates, Jeremiah Nanai, which are like all like lethal.
Nanai, so Nanai will be landing on Luai and Crichton. Crichton not necessarily known for his jumping. So that's a tough thing. If you do move Critter, you lose a really good defensive in the air that could protect.
Suaalii good in the air too, though. Like not as noted, but like he's a big tall boy. He'll get up.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I just think that Critter has experience of almost protecting To'o to a degree. But yeah, Suaalii, big boy.
It is the big worry for me when you've got, like literally the last time we saw Hines was Paul Alamonte just isolating him 1-on-1.
Yeah,
and just bulldozing through him. I think the Suas are great out there.
I think you're going to find Hines will probably make 25 to 30 tackles, and I think that if he doesn't, Billy Slater will be really disappointed in the game plan.
Yep.